quirky-driven life here, history and hauntings always seem to go hand in hand. An unassuming fort that sits nestled back on Route 66 in El Reno, Oklahoma, was established in 1875 and named after Civil War Major General Jesse L. Reno, who was killed in battle in 1863. Daily life at the fort was hard. Not everyone who arrived at the frontier fort survived to tell their tale. Accidents, illness, and self-harm, and even murder took place on the grounds. An officer ended his own life by shooting himself in the upstairs bathroom in his officer's quarters, which is now the visitor center. His spirit seems to linger on as volunteers report hearing heavy bootsteps, unexplained voices, and noises when they are in the building alone. Scout Ben Clark took his own life due to ailing health in the old schoolhouse that once served as a small chapel. Clark guided troops throughout the Great Plains to many forts. Clark was fluent in Cheyenne and Arapaho. Clark served under Lieutenant Colonel George Custer when his men attacked the winter encampment of peaceful Chief Black Kettle along the Washita River on November 27, 1868. It is said that Clark defied Custer's direct orders several times, one being when Clark told another officer that Custer ordered to take women and children as prisoners instead of killing them. Clark would go on to marry one of the survivors of the Battle of the Washita, his third wife, Mo Kay. Clark declined to accompany Custer to Little Bighorn, remaining at Fort Reno until he took his own life with a single bullet to his temple on July 24, 1914. It wasn't just military men that lived at the fort. Many soldiers brought their wives and children along with them. Unfortunately, many children passed away, and at least a couple of their spirits are still running around. Maria Wheeler was a 4-year-old little girl who died accidentally in a house fire when she was trying to cook something by herself when her mother crossed over the quad to the commissary to buy supplies. A little boy named Louis Frass is believed to still be playing around in the cavalry office, which was originally officers' quarters. Louis was 7 years old and died from an illness which was common for the time. Visitors have reported seeing 2 children playing together. Perhaps it's Maria and Louis. A little girl has been observed on the sidewalk in front of the Old Victorian. The mysterious girl has been photographed peeking out the upstairs window by visitors, and others report hearing a little girl sweetly say hello. Guests have claimed to see men walking around the fort in military uniforms. Besides visually seeing apparitions, one of the most common experiences is hearing children laughing, the sound of Native American drums, horses running, unexplained footsteps, and the most disturbing is the blood-curdling screams that have been experienced at different locations around the quad and even inside the commissary building. Violent deaths were not uncommon on site. A Chinaman that did laundry for the fort named Wee Genwa was murdered in what was said to have been a botched robbery. However, Wee Genwa still had money on his persons at the time he was found. It is safe to presume that many more undocumented cases of violence existed due to the sheer number of people stationed at Fort. Fort Reno served as an internment work camp for World War II German and Italian prisoners of war. Over 1,300 prisoners were detained at Fort Reno after their capture, serving under General Rommel's Africa Corps. Local farmers hired the POWs to work on nearby farms and perform day labor. As a thank you, the prisoners built a chapel on the post in 1944 to express their gratitude for their treatment while being in Oklahoma. The chapel is beautiful anytime, but especially during the golden hour when the light passes through the windows, giving off a warm glow. The chapel still holds fort events and can be rented for weddings and other private gatherings. Hop in your car and travel a short distance to the post cemetery. Many that perished at Fort Reno were laid to rest here, including Louis Frass, Ben Clark, his wife Mo Kay, and 5 of their 11 children, along with Buffalo Soldiers, Indian Scouts, and even Wee Genwa. Italian and German prisoners are buried in their own section across the rock wall. Johann Kunz was beat to death at the Tonkawa camp by fellow prisoners in 1943, based on the allegations he committed treason and was spying for the Americans. All of the prisoners buried here died at other POW camps in Oklahoma, not at Fort Reno. As you walk around the cemetery, look up in the trees, you might catch a glimpse of the Lady in White. Several visitors have described this angelic being looking down from among the branches. Those who have witnessed her describe feeling a sense of peace and serenity when they see her. Fort Reno has worn many hats over the years. After a military post, it served as an Army remount station. An estimated 14,000 horses and pack mules were raised on site to benefit all branches of the military. The most famous horse to be born and trained was Blackjack. the ceremonial riderless horse that participated in funeral processions of President Hoover, Kennedy, Johnson, and General MacArthur. Fort Reno held horse shows and air shows attended by the likes of Will Rogers and Amelia Earhart. The U.S. Cavalry Association and the USDA headquarters are both still located on Fort Reno. Fort Reno is chock full of history, and many people from the past still remain roaming the grounds. Plan to attend one of the guided spirit tours in the fall for an opportunity to have your own paranormal experience. But before you leave El Reno, cruise on over to Sid's Diner for a delicious onion burger. Directly on Route 66, Sid's has been on numerous Food Network shows over the years, including Man vs. Food and Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. El Reno hosts their annual Burger Day and cooks the world's largest fried onion burger that weighs in at a whopping 750 pounds. On your next road trip or road fest, make a point to check out El Reno.